16-year-old author Jess Robus has just released a second book titled Arnold the Not Dinosaur. Beautifully illustrated by the Holly Evers, the book tells the tale of great green dinosaur Arnold, who must grapple with the issues of personal identity and staying true to himself. She also hopes to open discussions around mental health and identity with younger children, providing an opportunity for healthy dialogue around complicated questions. Well, Jess joins us now in the studio this morning as we review this book. Jess, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure having you. I mean, a 16-year-old author of 2 books. Jeez.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the synopsis of this book, Arnold the Dinosaur. I mean, what really inspired it? And I see you've got Arnold right there.
Oh, yep, this is my boy, this is Arnold. I think, so my dad got this stuffed toy for me when I must have been about 12 years old. And I was just, messing around with a friend of mine and we decided to name Arnold. And so we found out his name, and then afterwards I decided, hey, I've got to write a story about this guy. And I've always been really passionate about mental health, especially making it accessible to young children. So I wanted to write this story in a way that it would deal with the issues of belonging and identity, which often aren't addressed in children, but in a way that was accessible for them, still bright, colorful, not delving right down into the depths.
And you've covered in depth the issue of mental health in your second book, A Few Slivers of Light. But before we get to that, what story are you telling in Arnold the Dinosaur?
So Arnold the Not Dinosaur is about, basically it's this dinosaur Arnold who meets some new friends, and he says, hey, I'm Arnold the Dinosaur. And they say, you can't be, dinosaurs don't exist. And he's like, oh, dang, well, I exist. Maybe I must be something else. So really it's about him grappling with not being understood or accepted in the world, and really coming to find a sense of personal acceptance, not validation from others necessarily, but rather feeling really secure in himself despite the criticism of what others may say.
Okay. Now back to your second book, A Few Slivers of Light. Why the focus of mental health? I mean, were you able to simplify it, to a point where kids could easily understand it?
So A Few Slivers of Light is more YA focused. It's geared towards like young adults, teenagers and up, but it was really my personal experience with mental health and mental health struggles like anxiety and depression. I've seen the effect of them in my own life and in the lives of people that I cared about, and I've always been passionate about using poetry especially as an outlet for those feelings. And I had no intention of publishing when I wrote the poems, but after I'd collected them, started compiling them, I really saw that there was an important story there to be told about mental health and about learning not just to overcome, but to deal with and live with in a positive way these really complicated issues. So I wanted to put it together and release this book so that others may feel validated in their struggles and get some hope and, just find some solace in my words.
Just looking back, has it been effective enough as an outlet to deal with your mental health issues?
I'd say it's been wonderful. It's definitely been, I've been privileged enough to, to actually to see a psychologist and to chat to mental health professionals, but I cannot overstate the importance of having a creative outlet to deal with and process feelings in a healthy manner. Okay.
And who are you targeting in this book?
So
I know that the issue of mental health cuts across all ages.
Yeah, definitely. I think that throughout my 2 books, I aim to open discussions around mental health with readers of all ages. So A Few Slivers of Light is definitely geared more towards teenagers into the young adult age range, and it's more, the language, it's more suited towards that age category. But Arnold the Not Dinosaur, the book I just released yesterday, is definitely more for younger readers. So it takes a kind of gentler look at these difficult issues, but still communicating the underlying message of the importance of acceptance and kindness.
So is the second one a continuation of the first book?
I think some of the
Is there a link?
Well, the themes are definitely linked in the issues that are being addressed, but they're both they're different books in different genres, but I really wanted to bring that through line of mental health and acceptance into both of my works.
So how prevalent is an issue of mental health, especially in kids? I know that mental health is always being associated with, the older population as a result of a multiplicity of socioeconomic issues. So from what you've heard, from what you've observed, from what you've learned in your journey as an author and, research methodologies, how prevalent is mental health among kids?
I'd say that it's much more prevalent than we as a
Really?
society are willing to admit, really. One of the things that I've learned is that mental health doesn't have an age limit and can affect people of
Yeah.
any age or gender or race or socioeconomic status. And it's really just this huge unspoken monster sometimes that people are afraid to name for fear of being judged as weak or less than or pathetic or something like that. And I think it's so important that we dispel that myth and we end that stigma as soon as possible so that people can know that mental health can affect anybody at any time. Like, anybody can struggle with this, and doubtless there are people in everybody's lives who are struggling with these issues and just don't say it for fear of that sort of judgment. So I've seen it in lots of young people around me, just how important it is to acknowledge and to really validate these struggles.
And I suppose we cannot overemphasize the importance of speaking out against such issues. Whatever you're facing, whatever socio-economic problems you're facing, just speak it out. I mean, there's organizations like SADC, the South African Depression Anxiety Group, and obviously seeking medical help or seeking services of a psychologist, right?
Yes, definitely. I'd say that if you are struggling with mental health issues and can get to a psychologist, then that's amazing. But otherwise, if that's not financially viable, or if that's something that's just really difficult and scary and like something that you feel like you can't do, you're absolutely right in saying that speaking out about it is the first step to actually beginning a healing process. It was Mr. Rogers who said anything that's human is mentionable,
Yes.
and anything that's mentionable is manageable. And so talking about these issues, it kind of changes them from this big, scary, unspoken monster into something that's ultimately human and can be dealt with and can be supported by others.
Okay. And the support structure as well. Would you say that it really helped you overcome, your own issues?
Completely. Writing is one thing, and being
Yes.
able to get my words out was phenomenal, and it still is. But having the support of my parents, friends, people at school, just knowing that there were people around me who knew what I was going through and still loved me and, could help me was just absolutely phenomenal and so, so helpful in my own journey.
Yeah. And I understand that you'll be reading this book to kids in 4 ways. Is it today, right?
So yesterday we had our official book launch, but today is
Okay.
the storytelling session. I'm so excited.
I can imagine, especially in the spirit of World Book Day.
Yes, it's just so important to get our kids reading, to
Right.
start just getting kids interested in literature and in just the countless worlds that stories can offer.
Yeah. And is it like kids friendly, or is it a book that parents could perhaps read to kids? Or can kids read the book on their own?
So there are a few big words, but kids could probably read this book on their own. I think my illustrator and I designed it in such a way that it can appeal to both a child and adult audience. It's
Yes,
got the
yes.
themes for the adults, but then for kids it's beautifully illustrated. And we also used a dyslexic-friendly font to make it as accessible as possible.
Right,
So
right.
we really just wanted to make this open for everybody, so everyone could enjoy and identify with Arnold and his story.
And I see the illustration is so captivating. I mean, just paging through,
She's so
it's
good.
so captivating, and it's eye-catching, eh?
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful, hey?
Yeah, Holly, the illustrator, did a fantastic job at bringing
Yeah.
Arnold to life. Just love her.
All right, Jess, lovely chatting to you. All the best, eh?
Thank you so much. Lovely chatting to
Great
you
stuff.
too.
Great stuff. Well, mental health issues amongst kids, that's what 16-year-old author Jess Robus aims to tackle in her newest book titled Arnold the Not Dinosaur.